An important message before we begin. This AI-generated video podcast is intended solely for general learning and educational purposes. While we strive for accuracy, the AI may occasionally produce errors or incomplete information. Please consult qualified professionals and conduct your own research before making any legal, financial, or business decisions based on this content.
All right, let's get ready for a deep dive into a legal battle. And this one is hotter than your stovetop on high. We're talking frameless gas stoves.
Frameless gas stoves.
Yeah, these seemingly simple kitchen appliances have sparked a major lawsuit over in India.
You know, it's fascinating how this case reveals the intricacies of intellectual property law. We're going to go beyond just the design of a stove and delve into patents and design registration and the whole legal battleground around all that.
You got it. We're going to be going deep into actual court documents from the Madras High Court, and this is where Maya Appliances Private Limited is suing two companies, Vibrant Concepts and Designs, along with Ramakrishna Metal Stores in one case, and then Preeti Appliances in another case.
Two cases.
Yeah, so Maya Appliances, they're claiming to be the pioneers of these frameless gas stoves, and they're accusing these other companies of basically copying their patented designs.
And I bet those accused companies aren't just taking this lying down, are they?
Oh, absolutely not. They are coming back swinging with some pretty strong counter-arguments that really make you think.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's like a legal chess match with each side trying to outmaneuver the other.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Let's break this whole case down step by step.
Right.
And maybe we can start with, well, who is Maya Appliances? And what makes their designs so unique?
Okay, so according to the court documents, Maya Appliances is claiming to be the, quote, world's first inventor, end quote, of frameless gas cooktops.
The world's first.
That's what they're claiming.
Yeah.
And they've got a whole collection of design registrations going back to 2014 and two key patents that they are really touting here.
Okay, hold on. Let's clarify something. What is the difference between a design registration and a patent?
Yeah.
Because for those of us who aren't, lawyers, it can be kind of confusing.
Absolutely. So a design registration, this protects the way a product looks, its shape, its pattern, ornamentation, that kind of stuff. Think of it like copyright, but for appearances.
Okay.
A patent, on the other hand, that protects the invention itself.
Ah.
So the way it works, the underlying technology. So Maya Appliance is saying they've got both the stylish looks and the innovative brains behind this frameless gas stove.
They've got it all.
They do. Well, at least that's what they're claiming.
Yeah.
And in this lawsuit, they're really emphasizing design registration number 304676 as being central to their case.
Okay.
They also hold two patents, number 45208 for the basic frameless design, and then number 463327 for improvements they made later on.
I see. So they're claiming the defendants have copied both the look and the technology of their stoves.
Exactly.
But what is it that makes their design so unique? I mean, it's a gas stove. What's the big deal?
Well, and that's where it gets interesting. The innovation that Maya Appliances is touting is that their design exposes the internal piping and components of the stove.
It exposes. What do you mean expose?
This allows you to actually see a gas leak if one were to happen.
Oh, wow. So you can actually see gas escaping.
Yes.
That's both brilliant from a safety standpoint and kind of terrifying to think about.
I know, right?
Like, what if I saw that?
Yeah, I'd be running out of the house, I think.
Yeah.
So naturally, Maya Appliances wants to protect that innovation, legally.
Absolutely. So how are the defendants responding to these accusations of copying? Are they just denying it outright?
Not exactly. They're coming out swinging, but not with just a simple denial.
Okay.
They are actually challenging the very foundation of Maya's case, questioning the validity of those patents and design registrations that we just talked about.
Oh, so they're using Maya's claims against them.
Yeah, they are. And they've got a few key arguments that they're bringing up here. So firstly, they're claiming that Maya Appliances hasn't been entirely transparent with the court.
Oh.
Yeah, they're saying that they allege that Maya hid previous rulings that were related to their designs, maybe to just kind of present a more favorable picture of their case to the court.
That's a bold accusation. So right off the bat, they're trying to undermine Maya's credibility.
Right.
Okay, what else are they arguing?
Their second point focuses on the novelty of Maya's design.
Okay.
Or rather, the lack of it.
The lack of novelty.
Yeah. So the defendants argue that frameless stoves actually existed before Maya even came along.
Really?
Yeah. And they've even presented what's called prior art to kind of support their claim. And this includes patents from other countries and products from companies like LG.
So they're basically saying, hold on, Maya didn't invent this. Frameless stoves have been around.
Exactly.
Okay.
They're poking holes in Maya's claim of being the world's first.
Right.
But Maya is still arguing that their specific design elements are unique,
Mm.
even if the concept existed before.
Okay, that makes sense. But if Maya has all these patents and registrations, wouldn't that mean that their invention was considered novel and unique by, the authorities?
Well, and that's where the defendant's third argument comes in. This is prior publication.
Prior publication.
Yeah, so they've dug up evidence suggesting that Maya actually showcased their designs online and in marketing materials before filing for certain design registration.
Uh-oh. That sounds like a problem. I remember from a previous deep dive that publishing your design before you file can invalidate your registration.
You are absolutely right. It is a common pitfall in intellectual property law.
Yeah.
So the defendants are essentially saying that Maya jumped the gun, revealed their design too early, and made those specific registrations invalid.
Wow. Things are getting complicated for my appliances. It's like they're in a legal pressure cooker.
They are.
But the defendants aren't done yet, are they?
Nope, they are not done yet.
Okay.
They've got one more argument up their sleeve, and they're arguing that Maya's patents focus too much on the functional aspects of the stove and not enough on the aesthetic design.
Okay, and this is a crucial distinction in design law.
It is, because design law is all about how something looks, its visual appeal. You can't protect the functionality of a product with a design registration. That's what patents are for.
Ah, I see.
So the defendants are basically saying to Maya, choose your lane, design or function. You can't double dip and claim protection for both under design law.
That is a clever strategy.
It is. So with all these arguments flying back and forth, what did the court actually decide?
Well, in a bit of a twist, the Madras High Court denied Maya Appliances' request for an immediate injunction against the defendants.
So no knockout punch for Maya just yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
What this means is that the case is going to trial where both sides will have to present more evidence. Expert witnesses will likely be called in to analyze the technology and designs. It's going to be a fascinating legal battle to watch.
I agree. Okay, so round one goes to the defendants, but the fight's far from over. But wait, there's one detail in the court documents that I found really intriguing. The court ordered both defendants to keep detailed records of their sales of the disputed gas stoves.
Why would they do that?
Well, it all boils down to potential damages. So if My Appliances wins the case, those sales records are going to be used to calculate how much money the defendants owe for infringing on Maya's intellectual property.
Ah, that makes sense. So the defendants could end up owing a lot of money if things don't go their way.
Exactly.
That adds a whole new level of intrigue to this case.
It does. This is why I love diving into these legal cases. You never know what you'll find. But we're only just getting started. There's so much more to uncover in this frameless gas stove saga.
Oh, there's more.
Oh, yeah. What else can you tell us about the specifics of these designs?
Welcome back to our deep dive into this legal battle over frameless gas stoves. We've set the stage, introduced Maya Appliances and their claims of being the original innovators, and we've explored the defendants' fierce counterarguments. So now let's take a closer look at the designs themselves.
Yeah, you're right. We've talked a lot about the legal arguments, but I am curious to hear more about the actual stoves. Like, what are we picturing here? What makes these frameless gas stoves so unique visually?
All right, well, let's start with Maya Appliances Design Registration Num 304676, which, remember, they claim is at the heart of this whole case.
Okay.
The documents describe a cooking stove with a very distinct modern aesthetic. Think sleek lines and a minimalist design.
So not your grandma's bulky old-fashioned gas stove.
No.
More like something you'd see in a trendy, high-end kitchen showroom.
Exactly.
Okay.
And Maya Appliances is arguing that the defendants have copied this specific design. And while the documents don't give us highly detailed visual descriptions, we do get some clues about the similarities that Maya is pointing to.
Okay, give me the details. What are these alleged copycat features that have Maya Appliances so fired up?
Okay, well, firstly, all of the stoves in question have that frameless structure, which, remember, is the defining feature of Maya's claim. But it goes beyond just being frameless.
Okay.
Maya argues that the placement of the mixing tube is identical in their design and the defendant's products, and that the design and positioning of the legs are also a direct copy.
So it's not simply about being frameless.
Right.
It's about very specific design choices within that frameless structure that Maya claims are unique to their stoves.
Precisely. They're saying the defendants haven't just taken inspiration from the general concept of a frameless stove. They've replicated the exact design elements that set Maya stoves apart.
Okay, I understand their point. But remember, the defendants are claiming that frameless gas stoves existed before Maya appliances came onto the scene, right?
Right.
They're presenting prior art to back up their claim.
Hmm.
What exactly does this prior art tell us?
Well, that's where things get really interesting because the prior art that they present gives us a glimpse into the evolution of gas stove design.
Okay.
So they brought up a U.S. patent number, US 5046477, which describes a gas stove with a glass top panel and, you guessed it, a frameless structure.
Ah, so they're saying, see, frameless stoves aren't some revolutionary new concept dreamed up by Maya appliances.
Exactly, and they point out several similarities between this U.S. patent and Maya's design. For example, both have a top portion with apertures,
Okay.
and both describe how the burner assembly is integrated and connected.
So Maya might not have been the first to go frameless, but they're still claiming to have specific design features, like that mixing tube and the leg design, that are unique to their stoves. What does the prior art say about those elements?
That's where it gets a little trickier. The prior art doesn't necessarily address those specific design choices. But remember, the defendants also argue that some of Maya's design registrations are invalid because they were published online before being filed.
Right. That's that big no-no in the world of intellectual property.
Exactly.
So what specific examples of prior publication did they present?
Well, they pointed to social media posts from as early as 2014 showcasing Maya's frameless designs, as well as marketing materials and YouTube videos.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they're arguing that Maya revealed their designs too early, potentially invalidating those specific design registrations.
Wow, that could be a major setback for Maya appliances.
It could be.
This just highlights the importance of understanding those intricacies of intellectual property law and seeking, expert advice early on.
Absolutely. But the defendants don't stop there. They also bring up a fascinating point about the functional aspects of Maya's designs, particularly those exposed internal components.
Right, we talked about how design law is about aesthetics, not function. So what are the defendants saying about that in relation to Maya's claims?
Well, they're arguing that Maya's emphasis on the exposed piping and that ability to see gas leaks, those are all about function, not design.
Okay.
They even point out that Maya themselves admitted that certain features, like the bending of the stove's body, aren't included in their patents.
So the defendants are saying, Maya, you can't have it both ways. You can't claim design protection for something that's essentially a functional feature.
Precisely. They're drawing a line in the sand between what's considered a unique design element and what's simply about how the product works.
Okay, this case is really heating up. Every argument seems to have a counter-argument.
It does.
But let's move from the abstract to the concrete. What about the actual gas stoves that are at the center of this lawsuit? Can you tell us more about them?
Of course. So first up, we have Maya Appliances Star Player, the Vidium Tusker series. It's a 3-burner gas stove with a stainless steel body and, of course, that frameless design.
Okay, and what about the alleged copycat stoves from the defendants? What are they offering?
All right, well, in one lawsuit, we have the Hilux gas stove from Francofaber India Private Limited.
Okay.
And they are emphasizing that the Hilux is framed unlike Maya's design and that its overall shape and configuration are entirely different.
Okay, so they're trying to distance themselves visually from Maya's design.
They are.
What about the stove from Preeti Appliances?
Their gas stove is called the Preeti Glam Steel, and their argument is similar.
Okay.
They highlight that the glam steel is made from a single piece of molded metal with a bent upper body that covers the entire stove.
So a more enclosed, less exposed design.
Yeah, they're aiming for a distinct look compared to the Vidium Tusker.
Okay.
And to strengthen their argument even further, they emphasize that the glam steel is made of stainless steel, which is opaque.
Wait, why is the material important? It's just stainless steel, right?
Ah, but remember Maya Appliances' key selling point,
Yeah.
the ability to see gas leaks because of those exposed internal components.
All right.
Predate Appliances is cleverly pointing out that their stove, being opaque, doesn't offer that same visual feedback.
Ah, that's a smart move.
Yeah.
They're not just arguing about the design itself. They're highlighting a key functional difference that sets their product apart.
Exactly. It's a way of saying, even if our designs share some similarities, our stove operates differently, offering a different user experience.
Okay. This case is like peeling an onion. So many layers to uncover.
It really is.
It's fascinating to see how both sides are using every argument they can to strengthen their position. But ultimately, it's up to the court to decide who has the stronger case.
You're absolutely right. As we mentioned earlier, the court has decided to send this case to trial, which means we'll have to wait to hear a final verdict.
Hmm.
But there is one more interesting aspect of this legal battle that we need to discuss before we wrap up.
Ooh, I'm all ears. What else have you uncovered in those court documents?
Okay, so we've got this heated legal battle brewing, accusations of these copied designs and prior art popping up. And the court has even ordered the defendants to track their gas stove sales. It's a lot to take in. What's the big picture here? Why should our listener care about all of this?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? What does this all mean? On the surface, it might just seem like a simple squabble between companies over a common household item. But when we zoom out and look at the bigger picture, this case raises some thought-provoking questions.
It does.
So I'm ready to zoom out. Enlighten me.
Well, for one thing, it shines a light on the complexity of intellectual property law, especially in our global marketplace these days. Designs, patents, trademarks, these are all incredibly valuable assets for these businesses. But as we've seen with Maya, appliances protecting those assets can be a real challenge with pitfalls and legal hurdles at every turn.
It seems like Maya Appliances might have stumbled into a few of those pitfalls, especially with that prior publication issue. It really makes you realize how crucial it is to dot your I's and cross your T's when it comes to intellectual property.
Absolutely. It's a stark reminder that even seemingly insignificant details, like a social media post or a marketing brochure, can have major legal consequences down the line.
And this is why I'm so glad we have you here to guide us through all these complex legal issues. It's easy to get lost in all the jargon, but you make it clear and understandable.
No, thank you. And this case offers a valuable lesson for anyone involved in innovation or design. It underscores the importance of careful documentation, due diligence, and seeking expert legal advice when it comes to safeguarding your intellectual property.
I couldn't agree more. But it also makes you wonder, with all this prior art floating around, how much truly original innovation is even possible these days. I mean, is everything just a remix or a reinterpretation of what came before?
That's a fascinating question, and one that courts grapple with all the time. How different does a design have to be considered truly new or original? Where do you draw the line between drawing inspiration from existing ideas and outright infringement?
Big questions indeed. And this case seems to fall right on that fuzzy line.
Exactly. It forces us to think critically about the nature of creativity and the challenges of defining ownership in a world where ideas are constantly being shared, adapted, and reimagined.
Who knew that something as seemingly mundane as a gas stove could spark such philosophical discussions?
You're right. This case might seem very specific on the surface, but the issues it raises have much broader implications.
So if we were to put on our judge hats for a moment, how would you rule in this case? Would you side with Maya Appliances, who claim to be the innovators, or with the defendants who argue that the designs aren't all that original?
Well, if I were the judge, I'd be paying very close attention to the evidence presented at trial. I'd want to hear from expert witnesses who could speak to the specific design choices, the state of the art at the time that these stoves were created, and whether the similarities between the products go beyond just the basic concept of a frameless structure.
So it all comes down to the nitty-gritty details. No sweeping pronouncements on the nature of innovation.
Probably not. Intellectual property law is often about those tiny details, analyzing specific features and comparing them to existing designs.
Well, that's good news for the lawyers. They'll have plenty to debate.
You can be sure of that. This case is far from over, and the outcome could have significant implications for the future of gas stove design. It'll be interesting to see how the court balances the need to protect innovation with the importance of fostering competition in the market.
Well, you've given our listener a lot to think about today. But before we wrap up, is there one key takeaway you want them to remember from this deep dive?
I think the most important takeaway is this. In today's world where information and ideas spread like wildfire, understanding and protecting your intellectual property is more crucial than ever. Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur or just starting out, knowing the rules of the game can be the difference between success and failure.
Wise words. And on that note, we'll leave our listener with one final thought-provoking question. If this case sets a precedent, how might it impact future innovation in the appliance industry? Could this be the start of a wave of legal battles over seemingly minor design choices?
That's a great question to ponder. It'll be fascinating to see how this case unfolds and what impact it has on the industry. So stay tuned, dear listener, because this story is far from over, and the implications could reach far beyond just the humble gas stove.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, and we'll see you next time.